All right, if y'all are ready, we'll go ahead and get started. Did everybody get a little diagram here? I think there's more on the table out there if you didn't. Nobody knows better than you folks here in this room that it's been a lot longer trying to get to this pool than what we had originally anticipated. I'm not going to go through the list of what all we ran into and take all of our meeting. I will say that I feel real good right now about where we are. We have a very reputable firm that has successfully completed some projects way larger than ours. And they're anxious to get our engineering done, get to the point that we can put this out to bid, and then they will bid on it as well. So I think the idea of putting it out to bid and having no bidders, hopefully that's all behind us now. And I'm anticipating that we will have more people bidding this time than just these folks. What we asked them to do was to give us a separate price on just the engineering and the specs that would let us put forth a bid package. We'd pay them for it separately because the pool itself, we can't commit to them, okay, y'all will build the pool. That's got to be bid on. And we wanted to hire an engineering firm that would give us those specs so we could put this out to bid. And anybody could bid on it, not just the people who did the engineering. So the engineering and the pool bidding and construction have been split into two totally separate items. So what we have going for us right now is the engineering. We have signed a contract with them for that. They presented us with a contract, and David said, I don't think so, and gave them the changes, and they were amenable to that, so represented. So we do have a signed contract with them. Was hoping that we could have the engineering in time to put this bid package out or vote to put the bid package out in our March meeting. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I think we're going to probably miss it by a couple of weeks or so. One of the things we all discussed up here the other day was if we can't get it in time to put it on the agenda for the March meeting, maybe we just have a special call meeting and get it done and not wait for the April meeting. So ideally that's the way this is going to happen. The drawings that you see here, they're sort of the latest and greatest. We told them that we had to have an 8-lane pool. They originally presented us with a 6-lane pool. So we told them we had to have an 8-lane pool, and they modified it and they've given us the specs for an 8-lane pool. We had originally told them no diving well, but the diving well did seem to be something that a lot of people wanted. So we asked them to go ahead and put that in, and you can see in the drawing that they've added the diving well to it. One thing about that diving well, that kind of took off on the social media. I think a lot of people thought we were talking about one of these towers that you go climbing up the ladder and do triple swans and jump off or something like that. No, we're just talking about a diving board that'll be 9 inches above the surface level of the walkway around the pool. But when you have that, when you have people bouncing and jumping in, and there'll be more people just jumping in feet first than there will be diving, but you can't keep it 5 foot there. You don't want somebody hitting the bottom and breaking a neck. So in that little square that you can see, or rectangle, where the diving board is located, will be about 11 feet deep there. That'll be the deepest part of the pool. The rest of the pool will vary from 3 feet to 5 feet from one end of the pool to the other, with 5 feet being in the middle of the pool, the shallowest being on each end and the deepest being in the middle. those were deemed to be, first of all, good depth figures for recreation, and also ideal depth figures for the swimmers that would, when they're swimming in the lane. We'll have the ropes, y'all may have some technical term for them, I just think of them as ropes, that'll divide the lanes when you're having your swim team practice, or if you have a meet there or something. And all other times, those ropes will not be there, and you'll just have an open pool, and it'll be for the folks to play in and carry on just like they would any open pool. So it's sometimes referred to as the competition pool because it's built to those specs, and it will be a competition pool, but it will be probably primarily just a recreational pool. It'll serve both purposes. What I didn't put on here, well, you can see a little bit of it, is external to the primary pool will be a much smaller, I just call it a wading pool, something for the kids. And hopefully that will satisfy all needs in terms of recreation. We did decide to move the wading pool from the back end of the regular pool up between the regular pool and the Civic Center, because the Civic Center is where the bathrooms are, and we want the mamas to be able to get them little kitties to the bathroom as quickly as possible. So that's one change that will be made. I'm looking at some of the at a request here for some various features. Some of them are built in, and I won't let y'all know about those. Item 1 is a zero entry into the pool. If you'll look on the diagram, there is a zero entry on the primary pool. It's directly across the pool from the diving well. And I apologize for the small everything here. This is the way we got it, and I tried to figure out how to print it bigger. Couldn't do it. But it says add zero entry ramp. So you can see the stairs on one side, on the other side is a zero entry ramp. So we do have that, and the seniors will be able to do that. Now I don't see it on this drawing, but in every other discussion, and I don't know that it's changed on this one, we have had a handicap lift. So I'm for now going on the assumption that there will be one. If in the end there's not one, that's something that's very easily added. So we should have the, well, we do have engineered into it the zero entry, and we should have the handicap lift. A storage facility to store the water aerobic swim team equipment is something we can look at once we get the pool done. Right now, I just want that pool done. Bench and hooks in the locker room for use after showers, keep your clothes and towels dry. Seems to me like it'd be a fairly simple thing. It's another one of those things that once we actually have a pool, you know, we'll visit that. But again, right now I'm just concerned with the pool. Recycling trash cans for plastic, good idea, simple to accomplish. The biggest request, this is on the end, is also truly, really the biggest request. And that is a retractable ceiling to open during the day and close at night in winters. There is no possible way we're going to have that up front. I would hope that at a later point, you know, we can look at adding that to it. This pool was funded the old-fashioned way. We weren't going to finance it or borrow any money for it, and we didn't have any money for it, but we knew there had to be a new pool. And this was before the decision was made that the old pool was no longer able to be used. We just started putting money back every year as we do our budget. We started by putting back $300,000. The following year, we put back another $300,000. A couple of years, including this year, we put back $500,000. So over the years, doing it that way, just saving up for it, we currently have in a separate account of its own for use for nothing but the pool, about $2 million, just a tad over. We're pretty confident that we can build a pool, not necessarily a retractable ceiling and all that, but pretty confident we can build a pool as it's envisioned here for $2 million. It is my fervent desire, if we can get these engineering figures back, and if we can have a special call meeting somewhere around the 1st of April, let's say, and authorize that to go out to bid. Was it 3 weeks, David, or 2 weeks? It would have to, 4 weeks, okay. So we put that, if we can put that out to bid then, hopefully 4 weeks later we'll have some good bids. We can quickly pick somebody and execute the contracts and get this thing going and have it under construction. Not much chance we're going to see it ready to swim in by Memorial Day. I've always said Memorial Day was my objective, but I've always been flexible on which year that is. So, my best case scenario, just me looking through this and kind of trying to figure all this, will be that if we can get it under construction, let's say by July, I'm not going to try to venture a date when it will be finished, but we would be able to open it at the regular Memorial Day opening time next year. Hopefully it would be finished quite a bit before then. We just probably wouldn't do anything with it before then. So, do y'all have anything to add to that?
No, I think I just want to say, and that honestly really how proud I am of the board for putting away the money and being, that was important to us to put that money away each year when we could have spent the money on other things, and Charlie's right, we are plenty in debt. We didn't want to put this pool be another added addition to our debt here for the county. So we have done this. It hasn't been, it certainly hasn't been the way we wanted this to happen. We certainly hoped that we were going to be building a pool much sooner than right now. But I do think that the board has done everything that they have possibly could have done. We've tried and looked at many other different properties that you guys probably don't even know that we've looked at and considered, and then came back to the rec center there, where it was originally, as the best location for it, for many different reasons, but it meant reconstructing it a little bit, which is good, really, because we do want it to be a new pool. We want it to last a long time, just as long as this previous pool has. It was also important to me personally. It's not about the swim team, but I liked the extra lanes and the laps and the chance to have competitive meets here for all kinds of reasons, but also to have that extra space so that my hope is that, you know, a water aerobics class can be going on while some other folks might be swimming laps, you know, at some period in the morning. So there are so many benefits to a pool in a community. You know, we've all gone through 2 years of COVID and haven't seen each other much. Just to bring the community back, to have a place where we can come together as a community to be there is important for socialization. For every age, our children up to our seniors. So there are, you know, health benefits, social benefits, community benefits. To me, the pool has always been very, very important, and I was not willing to give up on it. And I just appreciate the board for seeing that and wanting to spend the money on it and moving forward with spending the money on it and being committed spending the money for this, for our community.
Thank you, Carl.
I don't want to take anything away from your optimism on the money. We know what the economy is now. It'll be interesting to see what the bids are. Just keep that in the back of your mind. I hope they're good.
Okay, all that said, this is a town hall type meeting for y'all to ask questions, speak. This is your meeting, so anybody wants to speak or ask questions?
I've got a quick, I want to just clarify, I understood you to say
You
that
do need
you're
to come-
optimistic that the pool will be open.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir, you do need to come to the microphone.
Oh,
I don't think we're recording
Oh, we're
this.
not? Oh, sweet.
okay, well, and hopefully everyone can hear what I'm saying.
Okay, well, yeah, so people can hear, I guess so.
Okay, well, my only question is the date that you hope to have it open, that's the Memorial Day of 2023, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
If it's finished, if it's completed in March or April, I think we still probably would not open it until Memorial Day.
We could pull Larry's heater out and.
But now Larry's heater's built into it.
It's not Larry's heater, that's the
I know.
community heater.
Yes.
We do have two essentially new heaters that will be built into the pool.
Yes, while we're talking about that, I'm sure we'll have to be refurbished, they've been sitting there for 5 years, I think now. So, well, 5 years, I
Possibly,
think,
yeah.
4 years now, 5 years by then, so I'm sure they'll have to be looked at to a degree. Okay, so I got a few things. First, I'm excited we're still moving forward. I'm glad we're still moving forward. I commend y'all for not stopping and walking through the proverbial mud of 4 years to get to this point and saving all the time. That being said, I'm frustrated, as I'm sure many people are. This will be our 4th summer we haven't had a pool in this county, and that's frustrating. And I won't spend time on how I think we could have gone faster, but I'll stop right there. But I'm glad we're moving forward. And I'm glad we've saved the money to get to $2 million. And that brings me another, are we gonna continue to save $300,000 a year-ish from moving forward until everything is finished, meaning some type of roof and the restrooms and all that stuff, or what's the plan with that?
We don't have a specific plan for that now, other than the fact that, yeah, we would like to prepare for that and move on. $300,000 a year, that's gonna be a budget decision. And I can't say that we will or won't be putting $300,000 a year back, but I can tell you that something like this will be in the back of our minds, and something that we will still want to accomplish.
So is it fair to say that'll at least be a point of discussion for the
Yes,
budget?
yes.
All right. So is the plan for a retractable roof? Is that what I heard you say? So we've progressed
Well, they were-
from sliding glass doors to...
No, I'm reading a request of items that people felt would be good for the pool, and it simply says, the request is for us to have a retractable ceiling to open during the day and close at night in winters. What I'm talking about is just whether it's a retractable ceiling, whatever it is, I'm just talking about a cover that we can sort of winterize the pool and make it available for use in the colder weather.
Okay, well, I can only imagine that sliding glass doors would be cheaper than retractable roof.
And that would be very well the way we would go if cost is the issue, and cost is always the issue. But that's down the road. I was just indicating that at some point we'd like to look at the cover. I'm not specifying what kind.
And at some point it'll determine our budget discussions and those things.
Yeah, there'll be budget discussion.
All right, on this drawing, I see there's a water slide.
Yes, sir.
Where does that go?
At this point, I couldn't tell you.
Charlie, it was on the other side of the, where you have the walk-in, where you have the walk-in ramp, it's in that space. Along, parallel to your swim lanes, that space that's
That
Between
indentation.
the steps and the ramp?
correct,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Okay, so I assume that the end part of that slide where they go into the water is gonna have to extend over the water to some degree.
Well, I mean, it'll
Similar to
have
how
to be
the other
such
slide
that,
was?
it'll have to be such that when they leave that slide, they don't scrub the concrete before they hit the water.
That's right. So that's what, we had a problem like that with when the pool that is currently demolished, it had a slide, and the only way we could use lane one during any type of competition was to physically remove the slide. Because it extended so far into that lane, and it was only, I might be off a little bit, 18 inches above the water, 12 to 18 inches above the water. So if that's a have necessity, we need to figure out some way that the end section can be easily removed and replaced so that that can happen. Because the other slide was a real bear to move the whole thing, which is what we had to do.
Well, that's something that we'll have to look into. I don't know what it takes to remove them.
Because I'm just saying, if you use that lane, you're eliminating lane, I just call it lane one.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but this is as much for competition as it is for recreation. And that slide is important to the kids that want to use the pool for recreation.
I understand.
So I don't see it not being there. I don't have a problem with trying to figure out how we can maybe move it out or what arrangements can be made. But for myself, I don't see not having the slide.
Is it possible to stick the slide opposite the diving board?
I don't know. We'd have to ask the engineers that. The slide, no.
Well, you stick it opposite the diving board, that appears to be room there.
Where are you talking opposite the diving board, like on?
The diving well, I assume that's the diving board that's drawn in directly across the long part of the pool.
Oh, in the deep end, rather than, you're saying in that.
I assume that whole block is,
Oh, I see.
I think you said 11 feet, but I don't know that it is.
It's described in the engineering contract as a water slide with run out. I would suspect that run out probably can be disengaged and removed. I mean, we might follow up with that.
Oh, yeah.
With the engineer.
And that's what this meeting really is all about, to, y'all ask questions we don't know, but now we know what to ask the engineers.
Yeah, and that's a good catch before we do this, to be aware of.
So speaking of catches, I think I also heard you say that each end is going to be 3 feet with the middle being 5 feet of the main pool. Did I hear you say that?
You did, but not because I saw that on the engineering specs, because I thought that's what I remembered you saying that it should be.
No, sir, 3 feet is not deep enough for someone to use a diving block.
Oh, no, we're not talking about the diving block. Oh, you're talking about the swimmer's
Yes.
block.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, I believe it's a little deeper. I believe it's 4.5, Larry. I'll look through and see if this schematics, I think we got, but I don't believe it's 3 feet. I believe it's 4.5.
Well, it needs to be, well, I can tell you, it needs to be, I was just looking up the specs for diving regulations, and it needs to be 5 feet.
It may be 5. This engineering firm is well reputable, and Kevin has already discussed it with them, that it will be serving as a competition swim team pool in addition as a recreational pool. So I can't imagine. Once we get a little bit better schematic on it, I'm certainly sure that we'll make sure that it complies with whatever design principles that y'all feel like it needs to make.
And it probably already does. It's probably 5 feet each side, 3 feet in the middle.
That's something we need to be sure of.
And I agree, we need to be sure of that. I just want to be sure everybody understands, when I said 3 feet in the sides and 5 in the middle, I'm just going from memory of what I thought we'd discussed. And it sounds like maybe we discussed 5 feet and 3 in the middle. That's fine, but we will make sure with the engineers that however that needs to be is how it will be.
Okay. Let's see what else I write down.
The previous pool did say 5 feet, one of the previous pools.
On one of the schematics that I've got, it looks like it's 5 feet at the platforms where the dive platforms are, and it goes to 4.6 feet in the middle. Does that sound?
That sounds very good.
Yes.
That sounds good. And
Or
at one
4.6
of our,
inches.
we've been through so many renditions, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
nothing gets lost
Right.
and not translated to the next rendition.
Right.
Thank you.
Look at it.
Sure.
I think this is going to cover what you're talking about, 5 feet right there.
So there's depth.
Yeah, 4.6, 4.6, where it lands, yeah. I don't think he shows. No, he doesn't show where the slide is. I think that.
This is our suggestion, possibility, well, 5 feet here, that would be, that'd be.
I don't know what that drop off is, but if not, we can make it that lower section. And do this and do this. So I'm certain we will get the engineering for it. That's a good point to point out.
And looking at the schematic, he just showed me the end that's opposite the diving board is 5 feet deep, which would be similar to where y'all, the slide is being talked about putting right now. I think where the schematic is 4.5 feet, so we're talking half-foot difference, so depth shouldn't make a difference, it'd just be space, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's just,
That'd make the
it's how far out it goes and when it starts to
Space,
fall off.
space on the deck, and how much space there is, I don't know. Okay, so let's see, and the chairlift. I'm not certain if that zero entry eliminates a chairlift or not, but I think it's a great thing to have that zero entry regardless. And it might eliminate the need for a chairlift. I don't know the answer to
Well,
that. But
it was my
it's very good.
It was my understanding on that from previous engineers that they were saying that it would eliminate the need for the lift, but they weren't saying it because of any specs or regulations or anything like that. They were just saying if you're gonna have the zero entry, then you don't have to spend money on the lift. But I don't recall that we
I don't know
ever took the lift out.
I think there's capacity regulations on lifts too, how big the pool is, how many people you can get in, how many you need,
Okay.
and I don't know what those.
Well, I'll put that down as another thing to discuss with engineers.
Okay, and just to understand the orientation, you're gonna have, coming out of the Civic Center, going to where the old pool was, the first thing you're gonna have is the kids area.
Right.
And then what comes, what part of the pool comes next? Is it diving well closest to the Civic Center or farthest away? Farthest away with the lanes running the same way they used to run?
The diving board, according to this, would be the farthest away from the Civic Center. So you would have coming out of the Civic Center, you'd have the kids pool. Then you'd have the orientation of the pool would be such that you have the stairs and the zero access ramp. And then you go down that way to the diving area.
All right. So, and I know you said locker room will come in the future, but there definitely needs to be a locker room improvement before that pool is open, because when it was closed down, the girls' bathroom was always overflowing for bad sewer, like having to close it all the time. Open gaps, so the rooms would get cold and the locker rooms, you have to winterize them. So I mean, those are necessities, I think, that need to occur simultaneously with the building of the pool so it can be used to its fullest extent. At least make the locker rooms winterized and you can flush toilets and use them year round.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I don't have a problem with that. What I would hope would be that the pool would be finished in time, that then we've got time to work on that before the Memorial Day opening. But having said that, my concentration right now is just get that pool done.
I understand, just I'm discussing things that would need to be hammered out after the business.
Yeah. And those are good points, and points that we will certainly be, well, we'll have to address. But I'm just not looking to get in that one way or the other until we start nearing completion of the pool.
The only other thing I think I would like y'all to start thinking about is management of the pool. Because this is going to be, management of this pool is going to be a large undertaking. It's going to be much more, I think, than the last pool was. You're appealing to you're appealing to almost all the community with what this pool is offering. And I foresee it being a lot busier, having a lot more calls for use, a lot more everything. And I think it's going to need to have dedicated management to it, as opposed to just being part of somebody's job. And I think that needs to be also considered between now and May of whenever.
Right.
Okay. All right, that's all I got to think.
Thank you, Mayor.
I wanted to ask, you said that putting the cover on is not a priority, and I understand that. I really appreciate the work that's been done, and it looks like we're moving forward. But is there any way that you can talk to the engineering firm and go ahead and have like a phase 1 and a phase 2 model for this? Because last time when we were looking at putting a cover on the pool, when the pool was already constructed, it was going to be a lot more difficult than if it had been planned in advance, that we're definitely going to have a cover on this pool. So is that a possibility with the engineering firm to let them know we definitely
Yeah,
plan
I
to
can
cover
to
this?
discuss it with them.
So can you put that in the plans?
We had it in our plans before that was not bid on, so we're trying to eliminate anything that will slow anybody or prevent anybody from bidding on it, but I do agree asking them if it's not, anyway, it's not a big deal or not, if it, a big additional amount of money or going to prevent someone from wanting to, plan that, and then they change the way you construct things that go above, and then you've got these things into the ground that won't make sense for later on when, so.
But we can have that conversation with the engineers. Thank you.
Yes, just to piggyback on that, we had discussed in earlier renditions about the possible infrastructure in the original engineering, so when it comes time to put the roof on, everything is there, you don't have to go back and dig anything up, drilling more holes, it's just adding to.
Yeah. So that's what we'll,
That'll save money in the future.
that's the conversation that we'll have with them. Yes, ma'am.
I just have something quick.
Okay?
First of all, I appreciate us getting a pool, and people have to realize that COVID shut the world down,
Right.
so it couldn't get done really any sooner. And I'm just thankful for getting a pool.
Thank you.
And also, I want to request,
Okay.
could we get the concrete around the pool that doesn't get hot?
I didn't know if there was such a thing. Yeah, there is.
If new pool that just
What?
prevent it from getting hot.
Sounds to me like an engineering question. Okay, so I'll ask about that. One of the things I need to point out, because it has been a very long time, at least a year of that is on me. It's my fault. back when everybody was shutting down, when COVID was first the big thing and restaurants were being closed, everything was being shut down, I was concerned as to what that was going to do to the tourist revenue coming into Gilmer County. Tourist revenue is a very large part of our budget, and probably an even larger part of our capital budget. We had the money set aside for the pool. We already had a budget in place. I guess this would have been, I guess it was a 21 budget, a 20 budget. I was very concerned that tourism was going to dry up, nobody was going to come to Gilmer, and our revenue flow was just going to shut down. Now, the wonderful thing about a budget is you can't spend money that's not budgeted. But on the other hand, you don't have to spend money that is budgeted. So because I was so concerned about what that was going to do to our revenue, I made a decision, and once we all create a budget, it's my job to administer that budget. And I made a decision to freeze all capital spending. All capital spending, not just the pool, that wasn't already in progress. We did that until we could try to make some sort of an assessment of what we felt was going to happen with our revenue stream as a result of all the COVID shutdowns and lockdowns. And it took a few months to see, what that was going to do to us. What we finally determined was that we were bringing in more during the lockdown than we were prior to that. And the only explanation I have for that is that people started making day trips as opposed to their big long vacations, but our revenue actually went up, and went up substantially. So the next thing there is, well, okay, now let's turn loose of the funding and start back on the pool. I waited about 2 months, too long to do that. A lot of other counties shut down their capital spending, but they turned it loose again before we did. All I can say is we turned it loose as soon as we could get figures we trusted and it looked okay. But we couldn't find anybody to do anything. Trying to find somebody that could engineer this pool, sorry, we can't take on any new customers. We're swamped. We finally found one outfit out of California that said, we'll engineer it for you. And we do engineering in Georgia, so we can do this. So we gave them a contract. And about 3 weeks later, Governor Newsom shut everything down in California, including this engineering firm. Sent them all home. So we're sitting there waiting, and I called him one day and I said, we gotta have something, what's going on? Well, we're all working from home. Okay, well then, do our engineering from home, send us some. Well, we can do the engineering, we just don't have the machines we need to print out all these big spec sheets and all that stuff that we can send you. So that was another delay, and then when we finally got it, we're looking through the requirements. And there's statements in there about this work shall be performed in accordance with California statute, blah, blah, blah. Well, no. So David's been forever trying to just go through and convert the California statutes to Georgia statutes. That turned out to be just a mega thing. We had to go back to the California folks and say, you gotta give us this with the Georgia codes. And they finally did, but it really just turned out to be, that particular piece of engineering turned out to be a disaster. But as soon as we got there, that's when we put it out to bid the first time. Got no bids. We waited a month or two. We put it out to bid a second time. No bids. So I'm thinking, no point putting it out a third time until we can figure out why nobody's bidding on it. So Kevin out of Parks and Rec and Lloyd, who was at that time our project manager for the pool, started going to these folks and saying, look, you know, y'all build pools, why wouldn't you bid on ours? Well, we don't think your specs are complete. There's nothing in there about the concrete around the pool, and there's nothing about this or that. It was a disaster, and it all, in my mind, started from the whole idea that I froze spending and delayed this thing until nobody else around here could do it. We had to take somebody out of desperation that essentially didn't do it. We wound up having to start from scratch, and I wasted a lot of time, and that's on me. It's not on these guys. So, that's a lot of what happened. There's a whole lot more that happened that would make for an interesting conversation, but we only have an hour, so. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Charlie. For those of you that don't know, I taught water aerobics here in Gilmer County for 20 years, as well as Coosawati. I know when Charlie said it's going to do something, he does it, and we appreciate all of you very much.
Thank you.
It was a hard thing to put off, but I know a lot of my class members are here with very creaky joints, and they'll be happy. I have just a couple little concerns that Larry kind of brought up a few of these. If you wait to build the restroom, locker room area, where the concession stand was, are you going to have a concession stand that was kind of hooked on to both locker rooms? Is that how it's going to be?
You know, honestly, concession stand had never crossed my mind, so now we'll have to consider it.
Well, if you do, it was many times, we use a lot of music when we do our class.
Mhm.
And they had a gap, like Larry says, a gap from the roof to where we would store equipment. The rain would just come in, and that's where the equipment, the speakers, the stereos with all the wires, and that was kind of a scary thing with the rain. So I don't know how that's going to be. I know you want to get the pool done. I'm just going to throw that out there. When and if you do that with
Yeah.
the locker room concession stand to where the music is secure and not dangerous.
Well, something like water coming in on it, you know, when it rains and so forth, is something we'll obviously have to fix.
The other question I have, in the last year that I taught before the pool closed, I personally went out to the community and asked for donations for a cover. And we had a cover that was never used. And I guess this is a question for Larry. I don't know whatever happened to that cover. If that could be used, it was already purchased.
I don't know what happened to it. I don't think it was ever deployed at all, was it, Larry?
No, so the cover was bought by the swim team, basically, through his athletic club. Bought the cover, and we bought the room to house the fans, which blow hot air into the cover to blow it up so it covers the pool. And it stayed on the end of that pool in that building. It was basically a small, big trailer, big enclosed building, I guess. And it stayed in there for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And then that building started to deteriorate, and that cover was used when we bought it, and it started to deteriorate, and we finally threw it away. So we spent a lot of money to cover a pool that got shut down, and then we had to throw it away. And it was the same campaign that bought that cover that bought the heaters. They're still sitting there as well.
Well, again, we appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners and Gilmer County residents. My name is Elizabeth. I'm an 8th grader at Clear Creek Middle School. I could have come here tonight with a long list of facts. If I told you all the benefits of having a pool, we'd be here all night, to be honest. Instead, I'm going to talk to you from my heart. I participated in the summer swim program with Coach Page. During summer swim, we competed in swim meets, district, and all 8 Gilmer swimmers qualified for state. It's a summer I won't forget. I made friends, teammates, and built a lot of confidence. We worked hard to improve our swimming skills with the goal of swimming for the Gilmer High School swim team. There are so many benefits to having a pool in Gilmer County. As a daughter of a Coast Guardsman, I know how important it is to learn swim and water safety. We have a lake and rivers in this county that many of us enjoy, but while they're really fun, they can be really, really dangerous. I learned to swim at a community pool at a very young age. Having a pool here would be a benefit for infants and small children. Swimming has benefits for adults as well. Swimming can build endurance and muscle strength for adults. Where I live, many of our older adults get together for water aerobics and lap swim. Many will say to us, there's no better workout than swimming in a pool. Gilmer has a history of great swimmers. Yes, we have a summer swim program and a high school swim team. Just this year, Gilmer sent 2 members of the high school team to state, Peyton and Long. Both started swimming at a young age in the summer swim program. One of those swimmers, Peyton Woodring, will swim in college. She is such a great example for all of us swimmers. It's just amazing to watch her. Building a pool would be a great way to get the community to get together and have swim events here in Gilmer County would bring in money. Also, if you want to build a great pool, we have the best swim parents. Ask their input. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith, is that a proud papa look I see on your face?
13 years old, folks.
I feel like that anytime we have a meeting, there should be someone who asks the dumb questions, and I decided to volunteer.
That's good, because I'm the guy that gives the dumb answers.
All right, well, okay. First dumb question is, why isn't the Gilmer County Board of Education paying some of the costs for this pool? And why aren't the cities of LJ and East LJ contributing to the cost of this pool?
Well, let me say first, in terms of the cities, when we were looking around for a location for the pool, our first thought was Clear Creek ball fields. We had enough land out there we could do that. That was a very unpopular choice. It was pretty popular for that 1/4 segment of the county, but everybody else felt that, you know, okay, you're putting this right in their middle of their areas, so we're gonna have to drive way over. A lot of people got very upset about that. So we decided, okay, we're gonna have to try to find something closer in. There was 29 acres available right across from the river park, across from the soccer fields, right at $300,000. The mayor and the city of East LJ in one of their meetings agreed to purchase that property and donate it for the pool. And so it wasn't even in city limits of East LJ. But it was their contribution to getting the pool in more centrally located and helping out with it. So unfortunately, after a long session of trying to work it out, most of this property was very much in the floodplain. And we were trying to work it out. We were having people come in and tell us, okay, how much dirt are you going to put in? Finally, what we were told is, you're going to have to bring in, I believe it was 85 truckloads of dirt. May have been more, because in calculating it up, it was like, you know, we'll be spending a year just bringing in dirt. So we had to make the decision that the pool couldn't be put there. Now, East LJ was okay with that, because what they had done was made an offer contingent on being able to use it for the pool. So we just told them, thank you, but it's not gonna work. So they didn't wind up having to spend the money, but they were willing to. In terms of the Board of Education, you'd have to ask the Board of Education. We didn't ask them for anything. won't ask them for anything, and they haven't offered. In fact, we had a bit of a crisis there at one point because apparently one of the commissioners at that time had told a friend of his that we're gonna build a pool and we're gonna make the Board of Education pay for it. And that friend went to one of the Board of Education members and relayed that. And I had to grovel at the next Board of Education meeting that, no, this is not the county's plan. This is not anything that we've mentioned, discussed, voted on, anything else. But the idea that somebody had said they were going to pay for it just enraged them. I don't think it was because they were facing the prospect of spending money. I think it was the idea that from what they were told, the county was saying that we're going to make you pay for it. And of course, their immediate stance is the heck you are. So we haven't broached the subject at all since then. I was hoping that when the East Blocks went through, you know, the school system put out a list of about 6 different things that could be used with that money. One of which was an aquatic center. And I was just dearly hoping, and they said, vote on it. They let citizens vote on it. I was dearly hoping that that would win out, because that would just been a win-win for everybody all the way around. But apparently the votes went to a performing arts center. So we're back to now, okay, we're gonna have to build a pool. So.
Okay, just to follow up with another dumb question. Why not something like a GoFundMe approach to getting funds? Are you not able to accept, let's say, private funds?
I don't see why we couldn't accept private funds, but I would.
You can, it's just
Yeah.
that you probably don't need to be the organization that sets up the GoFundMe. It probably needs to go to a different entity,
Yeah.
and then that entity make that donation.
Oh,
Yeah, I see you with that.
well, my last statement is, as a parent of 7 children who have swum in the old pool and are currently on the swim team, my concern is exactly the same as you, Mr. Chairman. Let's just get the pool in the ground and worry about how pretty it is. And my understanding is that if we put a blanket on the pool at night, a floating blanket insulation, then the water will remain warm overnight.
That is correct.
And I also understand that there are many municipalities who have actually removed their bubbles once they have a pool heater because they found that it isn't necessary.
That's correct. Down south of Georgia, they do south of Atlanta, in Atlanta and South Atlanta do that. And Dalton does that over their side. That is a possibility. I didn't want to muddy all the waters with that, talking about getting pool.
That's the purpose of dumb questions, muddy the water. Thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. One thing I should mention is, during the course of all this, I traveled down to Eufaula, Alabama. Did not take my boat with me. Just went down to Eufaula to speak with the recreation department there, because they have a pool that's got the cover and everything on it. And they had agreed to give me a tour of their facility. So I got a pretty good look at their pool and their cover. And the thing I came away with was everything in here seemed to be wet. Maybe there's just not ventilation flow or something, I don't know, but walls, dripping water, and the whole works.
There's a permanent cover, right?
Yes, it
It's
is.
not removable.
It's not removable, and I didn't come back and say anything about, well, here's gonna be a problem with it, or anything like that, because, I didn't know enough about it to know if this was normal. I figured, you know, there's some way around it, so, this is the first time I've even mentioned it, but I do have a concern that if we put a cover over it, we want to do it in such a way that there's sufficient ventilation that we don't have the walls sweating and so forth. And that's all I'll say about that.
You mentioned before that you have a $300,000 budget that you would consider discontinuing. Why would we not continue that program? Sounds to me like a lot of the things that need locker room repairs, these repairs, rather than being a day late and a dollar short, why wouldn't we continue that?
Well,
In consideration, you've got 2 years before it will be built. That's better than $500,000 of money. And as you said earlier, that if the money's not spent, it doesn't go away, it can be used for other things.
Right.
So why wouldn't we consider it?
There are so many competing demands for money. We have to consider.
Oh, let's not
We will
ask.
consider that.
So what you're saying is, let's not ask, let's not continue the $300,000 a year.
I think we said earlier, we would, at budget time, consider it. But I certainly wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't say now we're going to do it, but I don't know what the next budget is. With all the competing demands for funding.
It seems to me like you already know of things that people are bringing up that hasn't been considered yet. Rather be ahead of the game rather than going, well, we can't do that now, and cost overruns and everything else.
Let's get the pool built.
Yeah, we're not saying that we've decided we won't, we're just saying that it's something we'll have to look at budget time. So.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here in twofold here. My son is on the swim team and has been for the past 3 years. Also helped with summer swim last summer. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been to a swim meet. Okay, I seriously was ready to call y'all and ask all of y'all to come to the last swim meet we went to. The people are packed in there. You've got swimmers that have to pay for their swims. You've got concessions. You've got parents that are paying to come in. You've got parents that pay for your peak sheets. The funds that come from swim meets will help pay for that cover. And but we've got to be able to have those swim meets here. Summer swim, once we get the pool, hopefully we can have meets here. But the people that come to swim meets to see their kids swim is amazing. I mean, we go to schools that have their own pools, where Karleen's got 2 different gyms, but the whole place was full of people. So there is one of your revenue generators right there, is to be able to host swim meets here and to help keep the upkeep and to keep improving it once we're able to do that. But I mean.
But now this pool would allow that, right, with the 8 lanes?
Yes, with the lanes it would. Now, again, the slide is an issue and a concern for them to be able to swim on that lane. So to be able to either retract that, remove that bottom part, whatever, would be helpful because the swimmers will fit. Second thing is, I'm actually an environmental health specialist. And talking about bathrooms and not having functioning women's restrooms with them overflowing or whatever, you won't get your permit without functioning bathrooms.
Well, we're going to have to address those bathrooms anyway. We know what the problem is, and it's always been a problem from day one. So whether there's a pool or not, we're going to have to address that.
Yeah, because that would be a problem. It would be bad to get a whole new pool built but not have functioning bathrooms. So, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's.
How are we doing on time?
Well, we got time for you to speak.
Thank you. I just have a couple of recommendations. Thank you. We applaud you for making some progress, and that's great. And I know your willingness is great, and your willingness is there. May I recommend that you get some people from our swim program teachers, Larry, if he would be willing, to be on some kind of association with this planning session that you're going through with the engineers and others, because we're asking questions, we've been asking questions from the floor that have to do with things that you were not aware of. And if you had one of us sitting on that committee with you and said, wait a minute, have we considered this? That would be, I think, a good idea. And it would certainly be a safety valve for you. And also, our competitive swim meets take place between October and February, cold weather. If we're going to have those in the year, the state competitive stuff, we need to be able to cover it up and have it warm enough to swim. So that's a consideration to take. And the monies from that is massive. And when she said there are lots of people there are hundreds of people at every one of these swim meets. I mean, hundreds of them, sitting on the floors and stuff to be a part of it. And then the kids are sitting in gyms waiting to be called in. It's a huge moneymaker, huge. And we can actually do some calculations and let you know some of the calculations that they have done, some of the money taken in by some of the schools out there. But the sooner we can get it covered, that would be a great idea. And it's something to consider. And just to have someone from the swim environment, the swim school stuff, would be a very valuable asset to you all.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's good.
Thank you. We have reached the point where we have a regular board meeting coming up. And our hour for this time meeting is over. Well, let me
A
ask.
sailing pool?
I'm sorry,
Will it be a sailing pool?
a failing?
Saltwater.
Oh, not that I'm aware of. Should it be?
I think it should.
Well,
There are advantages both ways.
Yeah.
that is on my list of questions for the engineering. Thank you.
I don't speak well in public, so I'm real hesitant. So I did want to say something to encourage you along this project. The local telecommunications company, TC, we have requested grants. So we've got like $4 million fairly recently. Well, more recently than that, they have granted us $26.5 million to build out broadband and internet so that this area, the whole corridor, will have the accessibility for people to stay at home and work. And it will bring more people in to the rural areas than they have in the past. The metro areas during COVID have been escaping the urban areas, and I expect that is not going to change. It's going to be reflected in the next 10 years. This area is going to grow. And they'll bring money with them. The county is going to prosper. So just having said that, that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope this has been useful for y'all. We've always said we would have a town hall time meeting. So hopefully this is something that has been beneficial to you. We do have to start our regular board meeting now. What I'm going to do is ask for a 10-minute recess before we start it. And that'll give me an opportunity to run to the restroom. So in 10 minutes, we'll start our regular board meeting if that works for everybody. Thank you all.